When a person becomes a victim of a sexual assault, there is a team of agencies ready to respond. This team of agencies is referred to as a Sexual Assault Response Team, or SART.
As the police department is very often the first point of contact that a sexual assault victim has with the system, it's also the police department's role to make sure that the victim is put in touch with the resources that they need to deal with the assault. The sexual assault counselors, the sexual assault nurses. Very often the police officer, the police detective is the first person that the sexual assault victim reaches out to.
When a victim survivor of sexual assault comes to the hospital, they become the patient of a SANE nurse. A SANE nurse is an RN who is specially trained and certified to care for someone who has been sexually assaulted. The patient is allowed to direct their care, including who they want in the exam room during their exam.
One of the important roles that advocates have with SAVES is to respond to the hospital when someone is here for a sexual assault exam. And we respond to all 3 hospitals in the Valley. And we come here, usually we meet the survivors when they're in the exam room, and we introduce ourselves and let them know what an advocate is and that we're here to support them and help them throughout their process.
We provide the patient with a private room where we can discuss the type of exam the patient would like and the options available to them. The options available would be having evidence collected for potential prosecution, emergency contraception to prevent pregnancy, STI prophylaxis to prevent or treat sexually transmitted infections, and resources available for follow-up care. There is no cost to the patient for the exam, pregnancy test, emergency contraception, or STI medications.
One of the important things we bring with us is a bag, and in that bag we have some things that are helpful to survivors. We have clothing, shirts and sweatshirts and socks and underwear in the bag, and we can give those to the survivor if they need those. Sometimes survivors have clothing taken for evidence purposes, and it's nice to be able to provide them with some new clean clothing that they can leave the hospital in.
The patient is offered a shower and clean clothes before being discharged to a safe location.
For over 2 years now, the Ashland Police Department has been employing a victim-centered, offender-focused approach to investigating sexual assaults. This involves all of the detectives and all of the patrol officers being trained to leave all of the control of a criminal investigation in the hands of a sexual assault survivor. One of the biggest things that we've done recently is developed a website that's going to allow for any level of reporting, including anonymous reporting of sexual assaults, directly to the Ashland Police Department. We're on the verge of rolling this new system out. With this new web-based system, sexual assault survivors will be able to offer any level of details about the incident. It's completely within their control. They can remain anonymous. They can give third-hand reports. The idea is that we want to gather every bit of information we can from the community about all the sexual assaults that are happening. Sexual assaults are grossly underreported, and it's important that we actively reach out to the community to solicit this information from them and not sit idly by just waiting for them to report it to us. The police department in a sexual assault, of course, is responsible for coordinating with the district attorney and moving the investigation forward through the criminal justice system.
Adult sexual assault cases are the most difficult cases that we prosecute. The reason being that despite the law, in our culture, in our society, the victims are the ones who are perceived to be on trial for their behavior. It's a very trying, difficult process. And as I mentioned before, a lot of times it seems like the victim is the one on trial, so it's not something that we want to put a victim through if she doesn't want to go through with the process.
My name is Judge Barnack. The role of a judge is like a referee in any kind of sporting event. You're supposed to be impartial and not take sides. Where a judge really comes into play is at sentencings. Sentencings are where the judge's personality, the judge's beliefs, that's where they come into play at sentencings. But the state of Oregon decided the judges had too much discretion in bigger cases like rape, murder, manslaughter, things like that. So the state of Oregon, the legislature, came up with what we call sentencing guidelines. Guidelines, for instance, if a person was convicted of a rape in the first degree, we cannot deviate from the 100-month sentence. We have to give them no less than 100 months.
If you or someone you know becomes a victim of a sexual assault, please do not hesitate to contact one of the SART agencies. We are here to help you, a loved one, or someone you may know who has experienced this horrible act.